Thank you, Jim. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ben Luoma. Can you hear me okay? Is good? No? How about this?
I can't hear you.
Are you kidding me?
Sound off.
Sound off.
Sound off.
I'm a lifetime member of the VFW, and I've retired from the Army 2 years ago with 27 and a half years of service, combined Navy and Army. Thank you. I'm going to explain the debate rules and go over a couple other things with you. Before I get too much further, Kelly, would you wave your hand? Kelly back there has got pencils and 3x5 cards. So if you have any questions regarding local Apache Junction issues or concerns for the candidates, see Kelly. He'll give you a card and a pencil, fill it out and return the card to him, and we'll get it up to the debate moderators. Okay, debate rules. The debate will include at least 2 mayoral candidates. The debate will be staged in a way that does not promote or advance one candidate over another. The candidates will appear concurrently in a face-to-face manner with opportunities to respond to each other. Each candidate will have a 3-minute introduction opening remark period at the start of the debate and a 3-minute period for closing remarks at the end of the debate. The candidate who goes first with his introduction, opening remarks at the start of the debate will go last at the end of the debate. Now this evening, Mayor Insalaco won the coin toss since he is elected to go after Mr. Serdy on the introduction. Once a question is asked, the candidate has 2 minutes to answer the question. After this, the opposing candidate has 1 minute to respond to or rebut his or her arguments. At the moderator's discretion, the discussion question may be extended by 30 seconds per candidate. At the end of the time period, the bell will ring to indicate the end of time. Personal attacks and insults are not permitted in this debate. Foul language or violent outbursts are not permitted. And for the audience, if you could hold back your applause until the end of the debate, that would be appreciated. At this time, I would like the debate moderators to introduce themselves.
I'm Bill Van Imwagen. I'm working for the Apache Junction Gold Canyon News. I've been there for about 4 years as a reporter.
Hello, I'm Richard Dyer. I'm with the Apache Junction Gold Canyon Independent. I've been there since 1987.
Thank you, Richard and Bill. At this time, Councilman Jeff Serdy will open up, start with his comments and introduce himself. He has 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Jim. I'm Jeff Serdy. I've lived in Apache Junction for 30 years. I'm a local business owner. I have AJI Sporting Goods down the road. I have been on City Council for 8 years. I'm a lifetime VFW auxiliary member, and I'm actually the legislative officer at 7968. All you veterans, you upheld the Constitution and protected us while you were in. It's my job to do that now that you're out and I'm in office. I'm a member of Kiwanis. I'm the city's rep for GFEC, lifetime NRA, the Dons Club of Arizona, chamber member, SMERBA member, the Focal Point and Tourism Commission or group, and I sat for 6 years on the Arizona Office of Tourism Advisory Committee. Does anybody really win a debate? If you have two opposing views, then nobody really wins. You just give your side of it, which is what I think you'll see tonight. That there's a clear difference of the status quo, where we've always been, and where we could be. And I don't think that the city has done enough to keep up with Maricopa and Queen Creek or anything like that. There's so much more that we could be doing that we're not. We still have a unbusiness-friendly atmosphere in the city. I think I can change that. We have so many county islands in the city that I think should be brought into the city. In my 8 years on council, it has never been mentioned. There are thousands of people living in the city on our streets that we don't get credit for, and we would get funds from the state on that. I also believe that we should reach out to Gold Canyon, bring us all into one community. It's a win-win-win for everybody. I have a very detailed plan on how I would reach out to them to do that, and the benefits would mean so much to changing the whole atmosphere of the whole community. We would be the superstition region with Old Town AJ, which encompasses Gold Canyon. Some of the other areas would be tougher to do, but we'd reach out anyway. But I think that would do a lot right there. I also think that the city does not go after the right type of grants. And why do I talk so much about business is because since we don't have a city property tax, we're relying on business tax. And we're bleeding businesses. Of course, in my time, we've spent 2 studies on leakage. We don't need to do that anymore. I can tell you right now there's leakage. Just look up and down the trail of the restaurants that are closing. I not only want to say what businesses we have, but bring new ones in. Keep our rural lifestyle, but we should have some thriving thoroughfares. We should have more entertainment venues, more events, and I'll also get into the rodeo grounds. We'll make a play for that, even though that's a long shot. Thank you.
I'm a Navy veteran. I'm a life member of this post and a member of the American Legion Post 27. I had my business here between here and Globe for 40 years. Out of the 40 years, I was here 27 years in business before I retired and closed my business in 2012. I am on the airport board as a member. As far as all the organizations we belong to, when I became mayor, I was on CAG. That's Central Arizona Association of Governments. When I became mayor, I turned that over to Councilmember Dave Waldron. We joined MAG. I turned that over to Vice Mayor Robin Barker. GPEC, I turned it over to Councilmember Serdy. These are things that one man can't do. You need the whole council. You need 4 people to make any kind of decision. One man can't do it alone. You can lead it, but you have to have 4 votes no matter what you do. It bothers me when I hear bring Gold Canyon into the city. They don't want to be. We've tried twice to bring them in. They tried twice to become a city. You can't force people to do something. They bought out there. They want to stay in the county. They do not want to become part of the city. And as far as all these county islands, a lot of these islands are owned by California owners that have all these fourplexes. The people who live in them are residents of the city, but they're not owners. These California owners that own a lot of these buildings, they don't want to become part of the city because they believe it's going to cost them more. Excuse me, it's going to cost them more. It's not, but you can't get that through their heads. Have we tried? Yes, we've tried a lot. And as far as being business friendly, our staff is very friendly. I don't know where this comes about. We've had problems in the past, but they've all been cleared up. You know, I was from Globe. I was on the Globe School Board for 12 years. I was on the Economic Development Department for a long time before I moved down here. There's a lot of things that I've done in my life. It is not a correct policy to say it now, but years ago it was called the Retarded Children's Association. I was state president. I was county president. We raised a lot of money to help these kids who were disabled mentally and physically. Now they've changed it to handicap. But I've been in service all my life. I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a servant of the people. And that's what this city needs, is a servant of the people.
At this point, I hand the event over to the moderators.
This question is actually for both candidates, and all of the questions that we ask will be asked of both candidates. But in order for us to keep in our mind the order of who goes which, I will address it to the candidate whose turn it is to answer the question. Mayor Insalaco is taking the first question, and we went over this on the last debate, but it's important enough to cover again. Would you explain home rule, or Proposition 410, as it will appear on the ballot? And do you support it? And can you explain why you support it or don't support it?
Yes, I support it. Home rule is not a new tax. It's a crazy rule that the state put on us, our city. We're not the only city. I think there's 14 cities in the state that have this home rule. Home rule lets us spend the money that we take in, not taking in more money. In other words, if we take in $10 million and home rule passes, we can spend that $10 million on city services, police, library, multi-gen, public works. If home rule doesn't pass, we have to go back to what our budget was in 1980. And how big was Apache Junction then? Our budget would be almost cut in half. That means we would lose. This is not a threat. It's just that we would lose either the multi-gen, the library, cut police, we'd be cutting everything to be able to manage that budget. It's a crazy, stupid rule that the state, it's not our rule, it's the state's. So far, every 4 years that comes up, so far we've been lucky that it's passed. But you can't live on your laurels. Sooner or later, something's gonna happen. We've gotta get that rule changed or get rid of it. We don't need to be changed, it needs to be gone. So it's not a new tax, it's not new money, it's just letting the city be allowed to spend the money we take in on sales tax. So yes, I support it. And as far as that goes, I believe all of us on the council support it.
Thank you. Mr. Serdy?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer that everyone should support that. The city of Florence actually did not pass it a few years ago, and it was a disaster. They had to have emergency aid coming in from the state. So everyone needs to vote for that. As mayor, though, I would look into a way to possibly get us out from under it with some of the options there. It could be risky, and if so, then we'd back off. But no one has ever tried it. So yes, I am completely for it. I have some time left. I understood that we were supposed to do opening statements, but there was also some debating going on there. So can I rebut now, or should I wait until rebuttal time? So I'll use the rest of my time for that. Once you're the mayor, you sit on these boards automatically. So if I were the mayor, I would be on the airport board. I would be the East Valley Mayor's breakfast, all of those things. So, and yes, it should be delegated around like that. As for us reaching out to Gold Canyon, that was 20 years ago. I don't want it to be 20 years ago. There's a whole different atmosphere. Things are changing. We got younger, more engaged people, and they have them out there too. We need them. We need their energy. They own a lot of our businesses. You never know until you try it. And yes, you can't force them, but there are ways to reach out and form coalitions. Just like I heard last debate that we can't do this, we can't do that. Let's try, and I think we can do it. Just like the state land commissioner, we've got some groups formed where we're trying to leverage them to sell this land, to get something going. If we don't try it, I know exactly what the results will be. It'll be the same results we've had for the last 20 years. And that's why I'm running for mayor.
Councilman Serdy, we'll start with you on this one. The East Valley Adult Resources has pulled its funding from the AJ Senior Center. What plans does the city have to rescue this vital service we offer to so many of our residents?
And that is terrible, and the city is exploring it right now, what our options are. And the main thing is the transportation. And transportation on a whole, we've been lacking out here. So that's why we have high-priced staff to work on solutions like that. And then the council we'll see what we can do. But it's a must for a lot of our elderly people. And we get asked for bus service all the time. I doubt that true bus service is ever going to happen. The city of Mesa actually pulled it back to Power Road. They were coming all the way to Ellsworth. So we're never going to get a true bus service, but we could get vans to run people to need services. one of the things that's jumping in my mind is Uber is taking off. Now, what if the city would do something Uber-based where people request and there's a pool of fans or people that could run these people around? Perhaps that would be one of the answers. But as of right now, we don't have a solution to that, but we are working on it, and it's very necessary.
What he said is true, but I'm going to expand. It's not only the transportation, it's the meals that are served at the multi-gen, it's the entertainment that's provided to the senior citizens. A lot of that's going to have to be done by our staff. A lot of it can be done by our staff, but the main thing, a lot of the senior citizens, they go there for that hot meal. So that's the meals and the entertainment and the things they do there are just as important as the transportation. And as far as getting a metro bus out here, they have told us time and time again, you get 100,000 people living in the city, not surrounding area, the city, then come and talk to us. They will not spend the money to come out here, like you said. They were to come to Power Road, but they don't even come that far anymore. That's just their attitude. They won't come out until they say, and you'd be surprised how many businesses and people said, when you get 100,000 people, give us a call. We'll bring a restaurant out there. It's the numbers. It's a numbers game. That's why we have to make sure that a lot of our subdivisions that are coming in, new ones, and we bring in new families. I'm a retired person, yes, but we need more than just homes for 55 or plus. We need some of these subdivisions to come in for families. That's why when the big one that's starting now on Tomahawk and Old West Highway, it was supposed to be 120 homes for multifamily. I'm sorry, for family homes. A new buyer come in and changed it and make it 55 plus. I was against that. I was the only one that voted against it. We have a lot of 55 plus here. We need to bring young families into the city.
I'll take a 30-second. Yes, we are out here, but when Disneyland was built in 1955, it was in the middle of nowhere. We can be a destination if we build the right things and we let them happen. Branson, Missouri was built in the middle of nowhere. We're not even in the middle of nowhere. We're the most beautiful place in the valley, and we don't use it. We don't use our assets. If we would capitalize on that, then we could have services, and I will go after that. Like I said in the last debate, I was the youngest of 6 children, and unless you competed, you did not get your piece of the pie, and I will go after it, and I have different plans for that too.
I'd like to answer that. We don't have the land. It's state land.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, never mind.
You've had an opportunity, and so has Councilman Serdy. This is for you, Mayor Insalaco. One of our residents sent up this question. They're concerned about crime, drug use, homelessness, invading the new downtown park on North Apache Trail. And they're wondering what is planned for securing that park.
Well, remember that park's going to be done in phases. First phase is going to be grass and sidewalks and some lighting. It will be lit. As far as, we don't want to have a lot of your benches around where they would love to sleep on them. We're going to try and keep that down to a minimum. But that's a question that's going to be awful hard to ask because right now we don't even have an idea what our third and the fourth stage are going to be. Right now, first stage, the money's only there for grass, the sidewalk, and lighting, and possibly if we might be able to get the splash pad in. So right now, that's the restaurants. What bothers me is when the restrooms come in. Are they going to be using them? Are they going to be locked up at night? That's a question for a little later on.
We have a very good police force, and I'm a strong supporter of the police. We would need to monitor it from the start. A lot of times, if you have to come in after it's already established, it's harder to get rid of a problem. But if we monitor it from day one, I think it'd be easier to keep track of. Those people right now are, if they're sleeping here, they're sleeping now under trees in some of the barren areas. We do have the Genesis project There's talk with some of these community groups of doing some kind of a homeless shelter. And there's different kind of homeless. There's the people that are displaced, they've just lost their home. This is not the type of homeless we're talking about. I think we're talking more of the vagrant type homeless. And those are the ones that are the problems, and they can, so we need to nip that in the bud. It would be nice to increase the budget for the PD. We're not going to do that if we're stuck where we are in the 1990s. We got to increase that tax revenue so that we can have more services.
Thank you. This one's about Gold Canyon and possibly expanding the city to include Gold Canyon, maybe even going south. Will that lead to more council representation? Would we need districts here like the city of Mesa has? Would folks have to live in certain parts of Apache Junction to be on the council? What would be required if the city didn't actually became 50,000 or 60,000 population? Thank you.
And this is my question, correct?
Yes.
I think we would need a district because you're not going to want to have 10, 15,000 people out there having 7 council people from Apache Junction telling them how to live. So I think you would need a district. And would they get 2? Would our horse districts get 1 or 2? Would the Apache Villa area get 1, Royal Palm? And then of course the mayor would be at large. But like I said, a lot of those people, they already own our businesses here. I would like to see the infusion of the new blood. Another thing is when the land opens up, where the Renaissance Festival is, all the way to Florence Junction, we're going to have to fight Florence and Queen Creek for that. If we're already established and we've got the infrastructure at Gold Canyon, who is inevitable that would take that over? They'd say, well, Gold Canyon's right, or Apache Junction's right across the street, so it should go to them, which would make us grow even more. We could be the whole gem of the East Valley instead of being landlocked like we are, where there's no reason for us to be landlocked. So, so that would be a bit. I'll come back.
I would like to say, you know, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea if the newspapers would put a poll into the people who live in Gold Canyon and that area out there, just to see how many would like to come to the city. I think that would be the first thing you'd have to do, is just see what the reaction is from the people who live out there, and really see how many people want to come into the city. I still say, he says 20 years, they still want to be, they don't want to be under city government. And it's wrong to push people. We need that land south, but I would like to know how he intends to get the land. The big sports complex that Mesa was just ready to put up, they had to back off because it's on BLM land. They can't do it. And now, if City of Mesa can't get that land, and they've been trying, we could try too, but it's going to be, you're not going to fight state land. You're not going to fight BLM land. And the thing is, they're not going to give it to you, they're going to sell it to you. It has to be a fair market value. That means it has to go to an auction. You know, where do you get that money? That means you're going to have to go to the people to vote to buy the land. You just don't have the money to buy the land.
He's not going to fight for it, but I will fight for it. And it would do no good to do this poll because they don't know what they'd be voting on. It would be, it's not a ballot, it's a referendum or a petition drive. And you would tell them what the benefits would be. They would have better police service, they would have the library, they would have the multi-jet, and the benefits. Also, we would be able to try to punch a road through so that they could have some flow. As of right now, there's one road in and out of Gold Canyon. And we could merge this into one city, and just like Ahwatukee, they keep their name, they keep their identity, but they're just in the city limits of Apache Junction. And the benefits are endless, and until we try, then we're not going to go anywhere. I'm tired of not trying. Let's go for our piece of the pie.
Who says we haven't tried? We have.
This is for Mayor Insalaco and Jeff Serdy, but the mayor should go first. Do you think there is an increase in drug use and homelessness in Asia? What do you propose as a solution?
I don't think there is an increase. In fact, I think it's a decrease.
No way.
You're gonna handle the people? I don't believe there is an increase. Our police department all the time is going after these, they're scouting them out. And we probably have less drugs in Apache Junction than they do between Meridian and Signal Butte. This, I disagree with that at all. No, I disagree.
I think it goes in cycles, and I think we're on an up cycle right now. At one time out at First Water, there was a lot of homeless people there. The state parks people had to drive them out. I think the word is out now that it's kind of welcoming here, and so they're migrating here. If we would build some shelters, would it make it worse? Would it help it? I don't know. The last debate, all we heard was we only have one code enforcement officer. We need more. And instead of just complaining about it, let's get the grants, let's get whatever we have to do to get more code enforcement and nip it in the bud. When they start to come in, we need to learn who they are. How can we help you? Can we get them on buses, get back to where they're from? But there is some things we can do. And I think we're on an up cycle now, but let's get it back down to a lower cycle.
This is for both of you, but we'll start with Councilman Serdy. This is about the BLM land that's north and east of the city. Are you in favor of the city taking ownership of that land, the parkland, including the rodeo grounds, and why? And how can we go about getting that into the city of Apache Junction?
I'm completely for that. In my first term, I worked on that extensively, and we learned all about it. And Councilmember Wilson and I are prepared to fly on our own dime to Washington to meet with the Secretary of Interior when there's a new administration seated. Congressman Gozar has promised to help Supervisor House if he gets reelected. It's kind of unprecedented for this to happen, but it has happened before. As of right now, it would have to be put up for sale, and we could be outbid by some developer. Although there's not a lot of developers interested in that, we might be able to get it. But I feel that we've homesteaded that land, we've spent over $1 million on it, and we can't even use it. It should be used every week for more than just, training. I mean, we should have events like Prescott and Payson. They have a rodeo up there every few weeks. The reason it's not good to have BLM in a metropolitan area is no money can ever be made off of it. Only nonprofits now. You can't even put a vending machine out there. That's why I believe we should go for this. Then we could have a rodeo that's sponsored by Justin Boots where there's prize money. You could have concerts. Right now, Country Thunder is in a river bottom down by Florence. Could we try to bring Country Thunder here? Not unless we go for it, and I'm willing to try for it.
Once again, how are you going to pay for it? You're going to have to either put a property tax on or raise sales tax, and you're going to have to go to the vote of the people to buy that property. I mean, I just got through telling you that a city as big as Mesa, with all their millions and billions, they could not get that land from BLM. So I don't see how he thinks he's going to go to Washington. These senators and everybody else are not going to put BLM back in the corner and say, give them the land. I'm sorry, they're just not going to do that. BLM is a lot bigger than that. And you get them mad, and they just might say, get off. Right now, maybe someday, but not yet, still not yet. I know he doesn't like that situation, but you have a chance of even losing what you've got.
Rebuttal. I think there is a reason, and it's a different political atmosphere right now, and his name is Donald Trump. Donald Trump might well do that. We petitioned Mr. Trump, say, we need this land, we don't need a handout. If you give us this land, we'll earn our own dollar. And unless we go for it, we'll never know.
One of the residents sent up a question. They feel that residential commercial property codes, residential codes and commercial property codes are not enforced equally. To your knowledge, how are the codes enforced, and are they done equally?
Oh, this is my question. Okay. Well, first off, we're down to one code enforcement officer. We have different zones in the city. We have the low-density horse property. We have the denser areas, which is where I live. So there are different roles. Right now, we're kind of handicapped in that we're not allowed to seek out problems. We have to wait until there's a complaint. With the commercial, I think that we should do more to pressure them. I was driving down the trail the other day. The old Sonic is now falling apart. It's all peeling, just like the Chevron there at the 88. So we do need to increase our pressure on landlords. A lot of these landlords don't live in the state. For instance, the old bashes, we hear about that all the time. What can we do to put some kind of pressure that you're going to pay penalties unless you bring this up to standards? And a lot of the key areas in our state, which is the Creek Crossroads, and that's one of them. That is the actual junction in the junction, and it's stagnant. It's sitting there. There's other kind of grants and that could possibly be gone after for rehabilitation. Let's look into it. I was the only one that voted against the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit zone up the North Apache Trail. My vote was to go after grants for commercial rehabilitation, which is exactly what you would do, what you would use that for.
To follow up on, this will be for Councilman Serdy first. To follow up on some of the code enforcement items that have been mentioned tonight, why doesn't the city use the County Board of Health to clean up the hazardous properties in Apache Junction if we only have one code enforcement officer?
Am I lost? Have the mayor not answered that question?
I didn't get a chance.
Yeah, you've gone right on to me again.
I'll ask the original question again. A resident feels that commercial property codes and residential property codes are not enforced equally in Apache Junction. To your knowledge, are the codes enforced equally, and can you expand on that?
When they mean equally, they should be the same. I mean, if you have a rundown or your weeds are in the front, they're taken care. I mean, the city goes after them even with a business. So I don't understand why they're saying that they're not done the same. They should be done the same. You know, if you got a junk car in the front of your yard, if it's against the code, the city's going to go after you. Same thing with a business. You got a junk car out front, they're going to go after you.
But they're not. The audience members, would you please hold your comments so that they can finish their talk? Thank you.
First of all, he's right. We like Councilmember Jeff said, we've only got one code enforcement officer. We lost one to another city. We lost one because of death. So the money right now is not there to hire anybody, unless we want to raise more taxes to get the people there until the economy turns around, or we can hire more people. This one person can't do everything. But if the neighbor complains, they'll be out there. That's the whole thing. That's the only way we can do. They just can't drive around the whole city looking for complaints. Somebody complains, they'll be out there.
Okay, now back to what I mentioned earlier, sorry about that. Why doesn't the city use the County Board of Health to clean up hazardous properties if we're down to one code enforcement officer here in Apache Junction? Councilman Serdy first.
Are we going out of order now because we were all doing? That last question was, I started off.
This is a new question.
So I'm getting every question in a row. You say the County Board of Health, or I think they're only involved mostly with food service, and I think we do use them some. However, they can overreach their bounds, which they have done with, this city is made of a lot of parks, and we need those parks. That's a main part of our population, and with the Arizona Winter Visitors Center and Smartborough, we're working on, they can't even have their kitchen open to have, they can have more than potlucks where they cook their own food. The county came in and shut that down. That's wrong. In some ways, I think there's overreach by this, but yes, we should use them where on condemning nasty property where there's trash and stuff, which I think they do, but we've got to let them know about it. But I also don't want to see them overreach and shut down the good things either.
We recently raised the sales tax by 0.2%.
John, Johnny talked.
The mayor did not get to the
I'm sorry. please
The
excuse me.
mic in my hand. You know, that county health question might be a good question for Supervisor Todd House. But you'd be surprised how many cities do not have a health department. It's something they just don't have. Now, you got to get them out here first and see the job, see what's done. Now, it's true, a lot of these winter visitor parks used to have their like Jeff said, a lot of these potlucks. They stopped them. They can't even hold their weekend dinners or anything else because they say their kitchens aren't sufficient enough. So I think the problem lies more with the county, sorry Todd, than it does with us. Because they can only help us so much because their laws aren't letting them do what we need to be done.
Good question. Start with you.